All right, guys, welcome back to the Legally Judgy podcast episode. I guess it's actually our first official episode that's post intro, but we're going to call it episode 2.
Yes.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Alexa.
And we're really excited for you guys to hear our first, episode with full content, with the legal breakdown and, all of the judginess that we insert into it. We realize that we're still working, through some kinks as we perfect the craft of podcasting.
Which isn't too hard for us because we're pretty close to perfect,
We're
right,
pretty
Nicole?
close. We're on the way.
But hey, sometimes we mess up.
Even the best of us.
And here, we probably could have summarized at the top of the episode what we were going to be talking about. So that's why we're here now to do that for you guys.
We owe it to you guys to give you, a better context before we dive into the episodes. So, we just kind of wanted to come back and say that this first episode, or the second episode, I should say, will be about Tom and Erika Girardi. Tom is a pretty, famous attorney who operates out of California doing consumer law cases, and his wife, Erika Girardi, is on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
A.K.A. Erika Jayne.
Erika Jayne, love her, gotta love her, great fashion. And so in the episode, we'll talk about how Tom has essentially been accused of embezzling money.
Oops.
And of just little whoopsies and a variety of other fraudulent activities. And so we're breaking down kind of how we got here, what's happening now.
Erika's selling her clothes off. But hey, you know what? If you want to learn more, tune into this episode and listen to us chat.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy.
Guys. Thanks. All right, so guys, welcome back. This is the Legally Judgy podcast, episode 2.
Whoop, whoop.
We're back again, ready. Alexa, what's been going on since the last time we were here?
Nicole, just so much in quarantine. I mean, there's just a lot to do when you're, in Los Angeles and have one of the strictest stay-at-home orders imaginable. And you live in an apartment because it's LA and it's expensive. Right?
We've got so much space.
Yeah, so I mean, luckily I have a great friend like you who just consumes TV shows and movies like it's nobody's business.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah, let's just go with that. So you're constantly telling me what to watch,
I know,
which is kind of good.
I'm ashamed of myself.
I try to be well-rounded about it though, because I'm like, look, I gotta watch your shows and movies, but I also want to play my video games.
Alexa is such a video game addict.
Addict? I wish I was.
Well, let's summarize it by talking about this. So there was a good week or two of our life as friends where all she would talk about was waiting in line for this PS5. Yeah. And it kept getting into her cart and then not purchasing or some weird bullshit.
Oh, you listen.
And so it was pretending to.
Walmart broke my heart 5 million times.
It was a real crazy saga, y'all. But we're here now. She's got her PS5.
Thank God. Because I think I cried 3 times about it.
Okay, that feels dramatic.
Like the little child that I was.
But all right, okay.
It became way more than the PS5. I just got so obsessive. I was like, you tell me I can't have it?
Was
Walmart?
it a larger sign of your life and success?
Okay. What are you, my
Too
therapist
far?
now?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's not psychoanalyze me on our first real podcast episode.
Sorry, you're
Thanks.
Right. You're right. I'm reeling it back in.
That feels like more of an episode 5 thing.
Okay,
so
we'll
we could just
wait.
Punt a little long. Yeah. But anyways, so trying to balance, it's a lot in quarantine. My Spider-Man playing with your TV suggestions. So this week, you sent me on a roller coaster. You had me watching Bridgerton, which I did not like in the end. I mean, it was entertaining, right? But you sold it to me, so I'm upset. I'm just going to be honest. I'm kind of mad at you right now.
Tell the people why you're mad.
Because, Nicole, you know that I'm not a big romance person. And you told me to watch Bridgerton. You were like, you're going to love it because it's like Gossip Girl, but in the 1800s.
But was it not?
Initially, yes. I do give it to you. But then we took a turn, man. We took a turn in episode 6? And it was...
I went a little porny.
It was sex. It was love.
You sound like a conservative. There was sex, and people touched each other.
There was fornication, Nicole. Fornication between straights.
I'm sorry. I'll never recommend that to you again.
You know how I feel about straight fornication.
I'm sorry. You're right.
I mean, the guy was gorgeous, though. Speaking as a 100% lesbian.
Dude, hottie.
Man, that guy can get it. I was... You know why I think I'm mad at you? You made me question my sexuality a little bit. Maybe that's it.
Deep.
Maybe.
That's deep. I'll pay that next therapy bill.
Oh my God, fuck. We are having
Just for
therapy
this.
right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go write in my diary later.
Okay. Dear diary.
Yep.
I watch Bridgerton.
And
I might like men.
Now I'm straight. I have to come out as straight to my family.
Going back on everything you put your dad through.
My dad. Oh, bless his heart. No, I'm just going to say lesbian for his benefit. Poor guy.
Okay.
All right. So that was my week. What about you?
Yeah, mine was it wasn't super eventful. Still coming back from like the holiday blues. I feel like that seems like eons ago. And I already really miss, that time of my life where I was just binge watching TV endlessly and eating all of the snacks in sight.
Ooh.
But luckily, over the past couple of days, I've gotten to like lean back into that lifestyle. In the evenings, I've been watching a ton of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and prep for today's episode.
That is some good research.
Yeah.
I mean, how was that?
It was good. It was really filling. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel I'm very spiritually challenged as a person, but I really feel like I did like some good PI work on Tom and Erika Girardi via the episode.
Our people of the ep.
I mean, they're like the scammers of, I would like to say just 2020, but that clearly, as you guys will find out, it extends
like
far beyond just 1 year.
Oh my gosh. I remember when it broke, the story, right? Where it was just everywhere. And I remember we were texting each other like, oh my God,
nonstop.
Did you see?
Yeah. We're both Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fans, but for everybody who's not, I feel like let's lay a little bit of background and, kind of catch everybody up to what's happening now. So as we mentioned, there's Tom and Erika Girardi. So Tom Girardi is this famous California attorney, and he works on consumer law cases, where he was like suing drug companies and car makers and polluters on behalf of his clients. And he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, this was like the most important thing I wanted to say all episode. Since 1965.
Yeah, he's been hanging in there.
He's been practicing, Nicole. He wasn't born in 1965. He's been practicing.
Decades before we were born.
Can you imagine having practiced law for that long?
No. It's been 5 years, and I'm like, okay. So we're like done now,
so we're gonna
right?
do this podcast, right? We're gonna try something else. Yeah, that blew my mind. And then in doing research, quickly just want to say, we'll get to why this is so funny. But the motto on his like law firm website was, "We treat our clients like family."
That's a real good standard. I mean, that's certainly how I'd like to treat my family.
Really? Okay. Well, once we get into like what he did,
yeah,
I'm gonna come back to that.
We'll circle back
because now I need to watch out for you.
Well, you're not family yet.
Oh, so you're gonna treat me better? Like if it was like treat like friends, then you wouldn't steal from me?
I wouldn't steal from you. Aww. Not yet, at least.
Well, then let's never become family.
Okay.
Never adopt me.
Fine, done. So back to Tom. So our good old guy Tom has been working on these consumer law cases, right? So the first one, or one of like the really big ones that kind of got him into the game, is this medical malpractice case where he won $1 million. And medical malpractice, for people who don't know, is if there's like a procedure that's happening and something goes wrong and you think,
oops,
you can blame the doctor and they did something wrong, and you've got a med mal suit.
Yeah, like remember that one random story I just popped in my mind where they were like operating on her stomach and they accidentally left one of the towels.
Knife in or something?
Yeah, like a knife.
So good.
They always leave stuff, right? You're like, oh, that's where my gum went. That's bad.
Disgusting.
I guess gum would not be the worst thing to be left in your stomach.
You probably wouldn't figure that out. I would like a knife so that I could sue and get millions.
A full-on scalpel.
Yep.
You're just like, oh, I think it's an ulcer. Nope.
Yep.
It's a full-on, like, we got a butcher's knife.
No, I want something in there that's going to result in, like, me, buying a mansion and a private jet.
I mean, you are the woman that ran around New York City opening and closing glass doors.
Yep, still
hoping they'd shatter.
You're welcome.
For a payout, so.
I can't wait to see you shake a door, but that's fine.
Look, Planet Earth, you've been warned. This woman
I'm ready.
will find a way
I'm out with a vengeance.
to sue you.
I'm out with a vengeance.
I'm going to see her running around with banana peels.
Yeah.
Just getting ready.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
So that was like his first case that got him on the scene. Since then, he's had like a number of really high profile ones. So he sued Pacific Gas Company on behalf of some clients, won $333 million. And that was the case that the Erin Brockovich movie was based on.
Love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Can we just pause for a moment though
Let's do it.
Like note that Erin Brockovich, it was Julia Roberts.
J-Robs, wow.
Well, we have a relationship like that.
Okay.
Like, I call her J-Robs.
Real tight.
It's really affectionate between us.
Okay.
she was like the star of the show, right? She was a paralegal.
Yeah.
And she was the one driving the case.
Yep.
And the lawyer, I just kind of remember being in the background. Right? Remember, she was like, no, lawyer, we need to go fight for justice. Don't quote me. This is like I'm just kind of freewheeling here, not exact script, right? And then the lawyer's like, oh, okay, paralegal, let's go do this.
I trust you. I know that you didn't go to law school, but you should definitely run this case.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Take my briefcase.
I mean, creative liberties. We work in entertainment. We know how this is. That's how it goes.
Love it. That's all fine. Love the movie. Yeah. But Girardi's like, this movie, that I'm that lawyer. And I'm like, really?
He's a nobody in there.
That's the one that put you on the map, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that's massive. $333 million.
It was.
And then he goes on to get like other millions. So he gets like 17 million in some case with this like senior citizen woman who claimed that she got cancer after taking like a hormone replacement. He won another case on behalf of clients. Sadly, some family members of victims of the Lion Air crash that happened in 2018. Right. So he like sued on their behalf. And then mind you, right, he's getting, so these case amounts or the case winnings are 333 million, 17 million, 2 million. And he's getting a contingency fee of those settlement amounts.
Remind me, because I'm not a litigator. Contingency.
I know.
What's that about?
I also had to do some research on that, so let me not act like I just know this term.
We're like W-2 employees over here, so like, what does that mean?
So contingency is if you, it means that the lawyer will only get money or make a profit, I should say, if they win the case, and they get a percentage of the winnings. So with Tom, actually, he was getting like 40% contingency fee of some of these cases. So, I mean, I'm terrible at fucking math. Should I open my calculator? Let's just imagine 40%
we don't do that.
of 333 million. That's well over $100 million.
Sure. It comes out to
case.
A lot. That's what my calculator
said. A lot
said.
of fucking money. All I know is the man was rich.
My calculator just said, you good.
Said you're broke.
Yeah. No.
You broke, bitch. You should actually stop looking up numbers this high.
I didn't mean literally my own calculator. I'm saying if I'm calculating on his behalf, it says you're good.
You're set, my friend.
No need to be disrespectful about it, okay?
So, yeah, guy's been rolling in the fucking money, making all these fucking contingency fees.
And then I feel like, so you got he was like famous in the legal world.
Yeah, huge lawyer.
Right?
Super successful. I mean, I think a lot of people in California actually know him in the legal scene.
Well, he was like schmoozing with people, right? He was like besties with Rob Kardashian. Right. And knew Johnny Cochran, I think, right? He was like in with those big attorneys, who of course were famous for repping OJ. So you have that, but then I feel like his transition into like more fame was kind of not as recent, but like Erika Jayne, right? That's a whole new world. I mean, not at the time, because they met in 99,
late 90s. Yeah.
Right. So, but love that story. It's like a meet cute, right? It's like that waitress.
It's the all-American dream for sure.
Our dream.
Yeah.
Look, we're already married. Yeah. That ship has sailed for both of us.
It's done. It's over.
But let's not play like we don't fantasize that we have the Erika Jayne come up. Well, without this ending, right? Like, let's just end the story in like 2014.
With the millions,
Yeah. Before we get into like his downfall. But right, she's a small town girl.
Yep.
She has dreams of becoming a singer.
Yep.
Moves to LA. Waitresses, and that's how they meet, because he's the co-owner of this restaurant that she's waitressing in,
right?
And of course, in a non-creepy way, I'm sure, he was like, hey waitress, you work for me, let's flirt a little. And
so she always talks about how, like, I guess he came in and told and had, after the fact, his secretary reached out to Erika and was like, Mr. Girardi wants to take you on a date. And I guess like Erika and all of her like badassness knew back then, like, no, put some respect on my fucking name. And was like, tell Mr. Girardi if he wants a date, he needs to come to me personally.
Oh, okay. I like that story.
Listen, I'm not mad. Female empowerment.
Yeah, good for her. I mean, it worked, right?
Yeah,
I mean, well, it did and it didn't.
It did.
Right? I'm going to keep having a caveat.
There's a caveat, yeah.
Like, it worked for so long. Like, she had a good 20 years. Good 20 years, yeah. So they end up getting married.
Right.
No prenup. She must be something else, man. Because I read that
either that or she's got dirt on him. I always assume. Always a good marriage. I'm always like, she knows where the bodies are buried.
Oh, totally.
And so she was like, it's fine. Do you want me to tell where people are?
Yeah.
Currently like buried under the house, or just no prenup? Which one?
Right. Well, she lived her best life though.
But as we will discuss over the course of this episode, she really may know where some bodies are buried. So this could actually, my theory is not really that terrible.
All right, let's come back to that.
Okay, fine.
I am curious though. Let's see. So what I find intriguing about her is she always had this singing dream, right? But for the first 10 years of their marriage, she wasn't really doing that because she was having to be Mrs. Lawyer. So she's going to these functions, which you and I both know from
boring as fuck.
Yeah, you're uncomfortable, right? What I always hated were the pants you had to wear as a lawyer. They were so uncomfortable and no elastic. And they serve you, right, in these banquet halls, the worst meal, caked with, like, sodium. So you start to bloat in your, like, tight pants that don't expand. And I just always remember being so uncomfortable. So I imagine that poor thing, right? I feel for her. Yeah. She had 10 years of bloated stomach in these boring lawyer events and charities and all of that.
Sis was fucking over it.
Right. So she's like, you know what, Tommy boy, time to pay up.
Yeah.
I've done my time. Look, I have this singing proposal for you, right?
Yeah.
So then she's like, let me get my singing on. Mm-hmm. I cannot believe she gets what she gets. So he hires her, who? Michael Jackson's choreographer.
Which just goes to show how fucking plugged in he is. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure on my best day, I could not just call up MJ's choreographer and be like, hey, you know what I'm trying to do? Like, learn all the MJ dances. Come on over. Come on over to my little apartment.
Right. Because I do not mean this in an ageist way. Personally, I'm all for you living your best life at any age.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Hollywood is Hollywood. The music industry is music industry. So usually these people that are coming up are younger.
Yeah.
Right. But she's not old, but she's a little bit older at this point. So she's like, MJ choreographer. Those are my freaking moves. That is the level that I'm ready to go in on the dancing level.
Yeah.
Then
she commits strong.
I love her. We'll get to, I love her as a housewife, but he goes hard. Like, I just can't imagine, like, how much was that?
I mean, he was definitely spending millions to get her singing career started up.
Totally. Songwriter for Madonna, Stevie Nicks, Britney Spears, and a costume designer for Lady Gaga and RuPaul. That was her start.
It's impressive.
And let's talk about the fact that it didn't really amount to much.
I wonder, did the person who worked with Britney Spears, did they work with her pre or post haircut?
Yeah, maybe there was a discount then post haircut.
I just feel like everything, I frame everything in like pre or post buzz cut. Because I think that's like that was a really strong tipping point in Spears' life.
Right.
Not that her discography has ever been like fucking amazing. Like, I'm not listening to that shit when I'm like going through like a life crisis, but it definitely changed the tone of her songs.
A little bit. I mean, bless her heart. She tries, right? Like,
I know. Hashtag free Britney. God damn it. Yep. Poor Britney. She really deserves better than this.
It's
hard to see her fucking do her little snake dance on Instagram in her little like yellow crop top. And be like, I'm sorry, this is such a veer off, but I love when people get in the comments and they're like, Britney, wear yellow if you need help.
Yeah. Blink. And her mascara seems to always be running. And I swear to God, she's not wearing a mascara. I'm like, where is it coming from, lady?
I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. That was my fault. That was my fault.
No, but that was good.
I think I'm gonna assume for Erika's career sake that it was pre-buzz cut Britney's
expensive
songwriter who helped her out.
But if it's post, he probably got a discount, and they may have helped their budgeting woes.
Yeah, fine.
At any rate,
yeah,
it wasn't really working. And then I was surprised because it wasn't until she got onto Real Housewives in 2015-ish.
Yep.
That it really picked back up.
Yeah.
And now she's like a gay icon.
I mean, honestly,
among other
she
things,
was like the baddest bitch on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She was definitely like the most lavish one, right? Like, Erika came in and basically snapped her fingers and was like, y'all hoes don't know shit about being rich because let me talk to you about my lifestyle. I have private jets. I spend $40,000 a day on glam. Like, I'm coming in with like full couture outfits. Like, everybody, and they all slept on her the first season, and they were like, they low-key tried to like sweep her under the rug, right? And since then it's just been like, no, Erika is that bitch, and if you fuck with her you might get cut.
I agree. And what I liked most about her was you see Erika and then you see Tom, and Tom is old and not the best looking guy. They're definitely good looking older people. I wouldn't really put him in that category.
Yeah.
You see her and she's just like got it, right? She's attractive, she's younger, and you're like, the age difference, your mind is quick to be like, oh, she's just a gold digger.
Yeah.
But she rode hard for that man.
She rode hard for her
Anytime anyone tried to say anything about them, she shut it down. And she did it in kind of a classy way, too. She wasn't ever like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. She was like, we're not going to go there.
But like, okay, so let's talk about the allegations that have now come up, because I feel like now that I know what's happening and what's been happening, I also am now doubting like how hard she was defending Tom. Like, I'm doubting if it was really out of love and more just out of like, fuck, my man's in hot water.
Protect
like
her coin.
Yeah, I mean, her coin, his coin, everybody's coin. So like, okay, let's speed it up now. So to where we are now, right? There are all these allegations against him.
Break it down.
I mean, the bread and butter of like what's going on is that he's being accused of stealing like tens of millions of dollars from his clients. I mean, I think it's like $2 million in connection with the Lion Air case. There's millions that he owns from like some burn victims, some elderly patients, some earthquake victims. I mean, there were some homeowners who like sued Shell Oil for pollution by their homes. And so it's literally up in like the tens of millions. And I think in one of his testimonies, he said that at one point he had like 50 or 80 million, but now it's all gone. But it's just impressive to me that these cases have just been rolling in and like nobody's heard anything until this year, right?
Yeah. I mean, I read that there were some rumblings starting in like 2015-ish.
Okay.
In the legal community. But I think because he was so plugged in,
kept
people were
hush-hush,
hesitant. Yeah, I think people were like, maybe they were in doubt. No, this can't be true. Because this guy he was legitimate enough that he clearly won these cases, right? Some of these cases were where his firm, right, partnered up with other law firms too. So he has such ties to the legal community, right? And it's a small world.
Yeah.
So I think people were somewhat in doubt, but it's like after you get allegation after allegation, and tens of millions of dollars, but also hundreds of people now are affected by this. Like when I read that the elderly cancer patients, they were like 138 of them had gotten cancer from a drug that was supposed to help them.
Wow.
And he took that money.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just crazy. And so you have...
And it makes it more crazy, right? Because I think when you're in law school, and then certainly when you become a practicing attorney, so you have to take an ethics course when you're in law school, and then you have to do, like ongoing ethics training as barred and practicing attorneys. And one of like the main, if not one of the most important rules, is to never take money from your clients. Like not even just stealing. Like they're quite specific about saying like, you don't take any money out of a client fund, even if you're going to put it back in the next day, whether it's $1, whether it's $50, whatever the case is. Like you can actually be disbarred and lose your, professional license to practice. So like the number one rule since day one of practice, he's apparently been breaking since like the 90s.
Yeah, who knows? Which we're not even litigators, right? We don't even own our own firm. And I, to your point, know that. It is burned in my head. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it's there, right? I can't tell you which class taught me. It was the bar, it was class, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know you can't even take 10 cents and pay it back. That doesn't fix it. Because I think they made us like read cases about it. And I was like, dude, I get it. I won't touch their money.
Yeah.
But apparently it didn't work on this guy.
Like you're not even supposed to commingle funds. Because remember, that was a whole thing. So commingling is like obviously mixing, but... So when you're an attorney, you're supposed to have a separate bank account for any funds related to your client.
Yep.
So he was doing more than just like putting the funds together. He was legitimately taking and spending their money in millions of dollars, again, as a reminder.
Right. He was making spaghetti sauce with everything. He's like a little tomato sauce, a little oregano, and take a little bit of here, and I'll put this, and then all of a sudden it was like a gumbo, and now he's like, you know what? I'm over the pasta sauce. It was just like, it was becoming too many things. It was like, you're mixing it up. It's becoming messy. And I feel like once the snowball was in place, like it just kept getting bigger and bigger, right? Because so you have like the client stuff, right, where he's representing these people,
right? And
then also on top of it, there's people who he hired in his practice that he also owes money to, right? Partners, all this stuff. So, he hired this court reporting company, and he now owes them $550,000, right? So they helped him with his cases. So he's in debt to them. He has an ex-wife. Well, he has several. He has two other ex-wives other than Erika Jayne, right? His first ex-wife is now claiming that he stopped paying her $10,000 a month in alimony.
Also, like, shout out to that bitch for getting $10,000 a month. I don't even make that doing my own fucking work.
Right.
So, like, good for you, sis.
I want to be an ex-wife.
Clearly, she was out there scanning, and she was like, "Nah, who can give me a good alimony check one day?" And so, like, found Tom, and look where she is. I mean, clearly not doing well because he hasn't been paying, but in theory,
for a while,
she could have been doing well.
This was fairly recent. I don't have the date in front of me, but she had been collecting that for some time, right? So it's just crazy. And then now he's at the place where I'm like, oh, you are running a Ponzi scheme, right? Because he's in debt. He's taking out loans to pay back all these various people, right? Over time. So, and these loans are often being secured by his future winnings in quotation marks, right? Let's hope you win that next case.
Yeah.
And these rates were up to like 20% interest, which is it just I'm getting like I'm like, oh my God, this is no Alexa, this is not your life.
So intense. Like I lose sleep at night thinking about my student loans, and so for him to borrow like millions against the prospect of winning millions elsewhere is just it's giving me so much anxiety. It's just too much to describe.
It makes me feel on a much more minor scale how I get my paycheck and then all of it goes to my student loans. And I'm like, oh,
that's cute.
That was nice to have for a second, you know?
You should definitely just do like direct routing like I do, because then I don't even know that I ever had that money.
Doesn't even feel like you had it.
Yeah, it makes me happier. My therapist and I have talked a lot about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're losing it?
Yeah.
Well, luckily, I mean, I have the freeze right now because of COVID, but I'm definitely going to look into that.
I don't want to talk about it. Move on.
All right. Well, we got Wells Fargo. They're unhappy. Okay. You want to talk about their unhappiness?
I mean, yeah.
Does that make you feel better?
Well, yeah, of course. Anybody who's more unhappy than I am, I'm like down to talk about.
What's going on with Wells Fargo?
Well, so Wells Fargo is like, they're one of the banks, right, that he owes all this money to. Sorry, for like the loans that he's taken out. And I mean, he's got upwards almost $1 million, so 800, some $1,000 that he owes them for unpaid like rent and taxes and etc. And then, I mean, on top of it all, because we've gone through like a long list of charges at this point,
it's just not enough yet. I feel like
we've gone through some like heavy shit already. I mean, really, the people who are supposed to be his partners in life and crime, as his, the partners at his law firm, are now suing him for income that was supposed to come to the partnership that he never put into it. So essentially, I guess he was taking more loans and using the entity and the property that they own as the guarantee for that. So
like his law firm,
the Ponzi scheme continues.
And for those who are not familiar, like in Beverly Hills, right? Prime real estate.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine how much that costs.
Yeah.
And he's like, without my two other partners knowing, I'm just going to use that property to guarantee my loans.
Yeah.
That they had no clue about.
And there's this one poor guy on top of it all, right? He's so old. There's this old man, God bless him. His name is Keith. So the firm's name is Girardi Keith. Mm-hmm. And so Keith retired quite a bit ago, but he let Tom keep using the name on the, on the partnership name. And so Tom is supposed to be paying him like millions of dollars for use of this name, and has yet to pay this like poor, cute, old little like retired man who's sitting at home. I mean, I hope he's got he's not destitute.
Poor and cute. Sign me up. You're retired and you're renting out your name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just want anyone listening right now to know, if you want to use my name on anything and you want to pay me $1 million, please.
Yeah.
This guy's like, I think he's owed $1.5 million.
Can I say that we take Zelle, we take Venmo, we take Cash App.
We'll meet you.
We take payment through OnlyFans.
I'll drive.
Honestly,
I've got time.
There's no bar to how low we will go for $1.
Yeah, I'll take it. You want? Okay, not $1 million. I'll take $10. What do you want? I'll take it.
I'll take Chick-fil-A, honestly.
Yeah. Yes, you will. I'll take Doritos. I like Doritos. Oh my God. Okay, so now
where partnership is suing him. Okay,
where are we at? I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. There's a lot. There's a lot here. Right?
Honestly, God bless the attorneys that are representing him, just keeping up with all this shit. Because as I'm learning about it, like last night again, trying to catch up, I'm having a couple glasses of wine, and I'm like,
bottles. Yep.
I'm like, wow, oh my God, this is taking so long. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like when does it end, good sir?
Well, it doesn't. Oh. You are in for some more fun. It does not. So not only are the partners suing him for the income that's due and for use of the name, they're now asking the court to basically force them into bankruptcy so that they can collect all of these millions of dollars that are owed to them. And so, as an FYI for listeners, so bankruptcy essentially means that if you have large debts that you can't pay, if you go to court and file for bankruptcy, they'll often reduce those debts to keep your collectors like at bay. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain bankruptcy that he filed for, which would further like liquidate and sell off all of his property to repay the debtors and settle out like whatever, amounts are due. So, I mean, he's obviously like not going to meet the entire amount, but they'll get something and enough to like get them to drop all this.
Mm-hmm. Which we'll see.
I mean, I don't know how, because at this point, like we've counted up hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, does he have that much property?
My calculator doesn't go up that high.
I mean, we know we're broke. Our calculator stops at like $300. Yeah. It's like, girl, this is out of your pay grade. Stop.
Yeah. The first $1 million judgment, I was like, I'm out. That's it. That's all I can take.
Listen.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is, like, we're going to get into, like, where are they now, right? But, like, the consequence now is we're going to freeze the assets. And I'm like, what assets? What assets are we freezing? And now there's allegations that he's funneling or has funneled. It's kind of unclear. I feel like we're going to have to wait and see. But $20 million into Erika's entertainment company, which is crazy to me. 20
so
million.
many question marks are flying through my head right now because I'm like, bitch, you've done like 2 low-grade music videos and danced in like a fucking Coke fest in Greece. Like, how are we at the point where you've spent 20 million?
Right. Like, where did the money, like, what is the money for? What, this isn't like a record label.
She also wears like vintage like t-shirts and like leather straps is her costume. So it's not even like the costume design is like, oh yeah, the bitch is out here in Dior. Like,
yeah.
Girl, you're out here in Forever 21 shaking your ass in Mykonos. Where did the 20 million go, Erika? The people want to know.
I also, speaking of outfits, it made me laugh because I'm just thinking, right, where I had read that in the early days, one of her first debuts was her music video, and I don't even know which one it was, but she's like scantily clad, of course, in her music video, and they play it at one of his like lawyer events. And I think there were like judges, lawyers. They typically play, you know, classical music. I imagine there's usually like a harpist.
Could you imagine how awkward that would be?
No. Oh my God.
Like you're watching like a semi-porn music video and you're standing like next to the guy who pays you and also like calls you in the middle of the night to look up case law.
Yeah. And then you're like, and he's like, look at my wife. And she's shaking her ass. And oh my God, I'm getting uncomfortable right now.
Like, do you say like, oh, that's such beautiful art? Like, you're not gonna be like, oh, she's a bad bitch.
Yeah, it's
or
like
she's hot.
I agree. It's like when I watch movies with my parents and a sex scene comes on, and I just want to melt into the couch. Yeah, and I'm like, please, Lord, take me now. Yeah. Like, Jesus, take the wheel, right? Yeah. Because I don't want to sit here and watch this.
I have
with
prayed
my
for
parents.
Power outages in those moments where I'm like, okay, come on,
Yeah,
earthquake.
Yeah, I'm like, someone do something. Am I the only one that this is affecting? Anyway. Yeah. Allegations.
Yeah.
She filed for divorce.
Okay.
I
have questions.
Yeah. So back to what you were saying earlier, right? She, on Real Housewives, always rode so hard for him. But here, she's like, divorce. Mm-hmm. But this is after everything has been kind of bubbling to the surface. So I'm like,
timing is shady as fuck, my friend.
Yeah. You had to hear this stuff, right? Like, could you really have turned a blind eye and not have heard any of this stuff?
Well, so like we talked about how some of the cases started in March and October of this year. So let's scrap the October one for purposes of the divorce because divorce could take a second to file. Understood, got it. But the first case for millions came in March. So like, did you need months to think about that? Like, so you heard, oh wow, so my husband's been stealing millions from old people with cancer. I think I'm going to wait this out and see what happens. I'm going to get on my PJ in a pandemic, take a cute little vacay. I'll think about it there.
Right.
And then come back and see how I feel.
I think that's what makes it worse too, right? You hear about embezzlement and people are stealing money from the company or whatever. And when it's a giant hedge fund, I'm like, okay, that sucks, but not the end of the world. Then you look at the people here and you're like, oh my God, these are like cancer patients. These are family members of people who died in a plane crash. Yeah. These are, I'm like, oh my, does it never end? Like, did you not feel guilty? I mean, of all the victims to go for, these are like the ones that we're all going to feel sorry for the most. Yeah. And she's over there shaking her ass and a G-string.
Listen,
living her best life.
More power to her. And I mean, the best part is though, like, right, they're going through this divorce proceeding, and apparently like now they're asking each other for spousal support. So she's broke as fuck.
She's
literally a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star, so not making that much. Right. So he's asking her for spousal support. She's asking him for spousal support, and he's talking about how he only has $15,000 in across all of his accounts. So like,
good luck.
What are we doing, y'all?
That's why I think it's so funny that the judge was like, recently, let's freeze your assets. I'm like, what assets? What assets? You're not going to pay back anything. You have to sell the properties, right? But freezing their assets means you can't touch them, right? Because she was my favorite thing, which you can take the lead on, but she was selling her designer clothing. Like, was this on Craigslist? Was she on OfferUp? Was she like, what is she doing selling? Is she?
The best part is she was selling it through like a French resale website. So they were like, she's like basically like back channeling money like internationally. I'm like, okay, this is not like
going out Swiss bank accounts.
She's
offshore.
Not like fucking JP Morgan offshoring in the Cayman Islands. Like, let's all chill the fuck out. Bitch is like reselling some like old panties to some like old guys. So like just smell that shit. And then I don't know. Maybe a good shoe or two for somebody who's a foot fetish.
You know what I would have done? Because everything's online now. I would have had a garage sale. I would have been on my Beverly Hills mansion. I would have put up
a
my
garage sale.
You can't trace it. It's not electronic. People don't see that anymore. We're in quarantine. Everyone stay at home.
How do you even get people to a garage sale when you have like a millions of dollars estate in Beverly Hills?
You put up
people
signs.
aren't just
old fashioned off the freeway.
So
just yellow signs.
Apparently my co-host would put up signs on 405, which is a massive freeway that runs through LA, because I'm not really sure how else people would be directed there.
Look, you think with me. I'm just trying to brainstorm. How do we get away with it? Because if you're going online, everybody sees everything online. I feel like people are so glued to electronics. Maybe the best thing would be put it in the real world. No one was going to see it because their eyes are glued to their phones, except for, of course, the people that I actually want to read the signs. So maybe I need a couple people to look at my signs. Look, it's just a thought.
I am skeptical about how well that would work, but I think it should. To your point, it's insane that the court went so far as to say, like, hey sis, hey, stop reselling your clothes, lady.
That judge is like, are you fucking kidding me?
They're definitely quitting. They're getting off the bench like next week. They're like, am I talking about this shit right now? I'm like, I don't care.
And I feel like a couple people may have felt sorry for her initially when all these allegations came out, but then now it's getting a little ridiculous because she's posting these more and more photos on her social media, right?
Yeah.
Like the recent one where she's making jokes about, hey guys, should I use this for my profile dating app? And it's like her bent over in stilettos, ass first.
Yep.
And I'm like,
yeah,
not really feeling sorry for you when the cancer patient over there doesn't have her money.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I'm also not laughing. Like, this isn't really funny. I feel like if you're stealing millions, I'm about to laugh at your dating profile.
Yeah, and she's still living the lavish lifestyle too. So I'm like, wait, do you have the money or don't you? Because you were married to him for 20 plus years.
Right.
People are owed their money. There's no prenup too, which in this way makes it worse to me, because I'm like, oh, it's community property. It's half. I'm sorry. You benefited from the money, in quotation marks, that he had when you were married.
Right.
You still kind of are.
Yeah.
And then also you're asking for spousal support from each other when, again, victims need the money.
Right.
So maybe y'all should just work. Or maybe she would work, because I guess he's saying that he can't, right? Because he's mentally unfit. That's the defense lately.
Well, yeah. So on the other side of things, like, she's over here shaking her ass, making dating app jokes, and his, like, one of the partners who's not suing him for money is now trying to, like, alleging the only one. He must be so fucking loaded if he's like, I actually don't give a fuck about that chump change. She's like, damn, 5 million sucks for y'all.
Yeah.
So this other one, the one and only, is saying that Tom is sick and should get like a mental exam, and he's basically not sure that Tom understands the gravity of the situation. And another FYI, so basically if you're mentally unfit or the court sees you as being mentally unfit, they might, like, you know, they'll look at you through a different lens and take that into consideration when court proceedings are happening, or even like when they're giving out punishment. So that could potentially have a really big impact on what's to come. Like, if the court does think that he's not fit for trial,
right? I
mean, it could really mitigate or like lessen what happens for him, and he could really end up getting away with some wildly criminal shit.
Yes, I don't disagree, but I also don't know how much I buy it.
Yeah, no.
We'll see. I mean, the guy said, I think one of the quotes that you mentioned earlier, he was like, I used to have 80 or 50 million at one point. Now I have nothing. I'm like, that's a big gap. We went from 80 to 50 million.
And now you have 15,000.
So maybe he is mentally unfit. Maybe I just proved his point for him.
He doesn't know how to count.
You're welcome.
I mean, listen, this is all still unfolding.
Right.
We have to see where this goes. I mean, let's just briefly like summarize what's on the table, right? There is the fact that he was taking client money and possibly spending it, which is like, aside from the legality of it, it's definitely against all of the attorney practicing rules, ethically and everything. And then, he's just generally stealing money if he's taking it from other people.
His partners.
It's not due to him,
business
right?
Partners, yep.
Taking money from his business partners. He's not paying back his debts, and he's like guaranteeing these debts against future winnings that haven't happened. So there's a number of charges against him right now, and he could easily end up in jail if they don't find him to be like too unfit for this entire thing to proceed.
Right. So we will see. It's not looking good, though. I feel like his lawyer is feeling like Soho Karen's lawyer. Yeah. They're just like, God damn it.
Yeah, definitely upset right now. I mean, hopefully he's got like the best of the best, but I feel like I'm most interested to see at this point how she broaches the entire subject on this next season at Beverly Hills, because I feel like she can be aggressively private sometimes, and obviously she's going to have to be right because her lawyers are going to be telling her that she can't talk about this. Otherwise, it's going to be admissible in court. So
right.
I'm like real interested to see how she kind of dances the fine line of talking about it and like interacting with castmates who are going to have questions too.
Oh yeah, you know Lisa Rinna's going to be all over that.
Oh, can't wait.
She's going to be like,
we should bring back Vanderpump for this, actually.
I wish.
Vanderpump would be like, bitch, I've been saying.
on it. She would get her law degree with Kim K. She'd be like, I got it. I'm ready to go.
She's probably in law school now. Like, y'all, I'm about to try this case myself.
Yeah, just for fun.
Her and Jiggy.
Because I think that money is real on that. But anyway, I digress.
Well, I mean, we'll definitely keep tracking it.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll bring you back any updates. Looking forward to seeing what happens with this one.
Yeah, and if anybody wants some designer discounts, sorry, you missed that boat. Yeah, so
she's done online selling, but maybe stay tuned for her, what's this called, garage sale, if it's allowed to happen.
Yeah. Erica, call me.
Yeah.
We can work this out. I'm just kidding. Don't call me.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.